Well, it looks like we have our narrative. The local news in Nashville, I believe it's CBS, is reporting that the FBI is investigating the possible motive for this bombing in Nashville is related to the suspect's paranoia that 5G is being used to spy on Americans. That's the wording they're going with. Now, I've heard a lot of theories about the 5G stuff. A lot of them are pretty far-fetched, but this is not one of them. And I guess I'm kind of surprised that the FBI is not going with something a little more kooky, like say, oh, 5G is being used to feminize men, and it's putting out these signals that tell the body to produce estrogen and to not produce testosterone. I've heard that one. I don't know how many people seriously believe that, but if you want to paint the guy as a kook, say that he did this for some fringe beliefs or whatever. But I guess the less people that believe that, the less utility it has painting this guy as a kook, because this has to be someone that you can sort of use to smear other legitimate people, and I guess that's what they're going with here. The anti-NSA, anti-Patriot Act, pro-privacy people, the people who do believe that the government should have a warrant to tap your phone, who still believe in that silly old thing called the Fourth Amendment. We're now supposed to be painted all as kooks, I guess, because this is a paranoid conspiracy theory. That is my guess why they would be going after this. There was a real estate broker or agent who apparently used to employ this guy as for IT work, and the FBI asked him, hey, has he ever said anything to you about 5G and privacy and how it's being used to spy on people? And the story specifically uses the word paranoid, which paranoia is kind of a it's similar to a phobia, where it's irrational, it's not rooted in anything. Whereas fear that the telecommunications system is being used to spy on Americans is a very legitimate fear. In fact, we know that at&t specifically is working, directly with the government, as I'm sure all of the major telecom companies are, but we know for a fact, based on reporting from The Intercept and the New York Times and other very, credible, even to the mainstream news outlets, that the NSA has a backdoor into at&t. at&t collaborates with them directly. They have at&t staff whose job it is to be to work with the NSA and to hand them everything that comes through their offices. So this is not crazy. It's not paranoia. It's just a fact. Now, it's nothing unique to 5G. 4G is being used to spy on us currently. I'm sure 3G was before that. According to The Intercept, this whole or maybe I read a couple places on this just to freshen up on it, because it's a story from a couple years ago, so I might not have read this part of The Intercept, but apparently this relationship between at&t and the NSA directly giving all of their customers' data to them goes all the way back to 2003. And so what was that, like 1G? It wasn't even 2G, was it, in 2003? So, there's nothing new about that that's coming up with 5G. If anything, they'll just, I guess, have more direct access. They'll have maybe better data, maybe more than just metadata. Because before they admitted that they were taking the metadata, they told us they weren't taking any data. So the safest thing to assume is just that, they have everything now. That's how I think about it when I'm on the internet. I think of it as, the NSA is looking over my shoulder. So the question now is, will this event be used to, I guess, poison the well against anyone who criticizes all of the, the new 5G towers? Because there's always people who are concerned about cell phone radiation, and I think that's a very legitimate thing to be concerned about. You should be worried about companies coming in and putting up these towers that just put out, these not radio waves, whatever they are, something on the electromagnetic spectrum out into the atmosphere, into your environment, into your community. That's a very fair thing to question and to want to know that that's safe. But additionally, other than just the 5G, the stuff that's specific to 5G, this whole event could be used to discredit anyone who cares about privacy. Now, do I think that will be effective? No, I think that at this point it would probably fall on deaf ears. But you can never underestimate the propaganda of the U.S. intelligence community. The FBI, of course, is involved in this, and they are the cover-up crew. So whatever really happened, we don't know. The FBI's job is to clean things up. They're to scrape the blood off the pavement, and then they're there to craft a narrative that suits the interests of Washington. That's what the FBI does. The FBI some of the time might tell the truth. They might be lying. It doesn't matter. That's not how they think. They think in terms of, how do we need to spin whatever this event is to suit our interests. Sometimes their spin lines up with reality because reality suits their interests. Other times it doesn't, and then they lie. Now, for all I know at this point, because like I said, I don't think that at this point they're going to they're going to be very effective at trying to shame people into not worrying about the NSA. I think that thanks to people like Snowden, well, specifically Snowden, but also Assange and Glenn Greenwald, people who helped trumpet these leaks, that there's no putting that genie back in the bottle. So in all likelihood at this point, this is going to be mostly swept under the rug. I guess another angle that they could take with this, because again, anyone who is worried about the government in any way is automatically right-wing as far as the media and the government is concerned for some reason. Even when you have left-wing anarchists, they're called right-wing, which I guess I shouldn't be too upset that the government, that they want to lump all anarchists into the right, since I'm one of those people. But they might vaguely sort of say, oh well, this terrorist attack proves that we need more funding to take down right-wing terrorism. And they'll say something like, oh, this guy, he was a boogaloo boy. He was just a middle-aged IT worker, but oh, he was a boogaloo boy, you see. Maybe something like that. But at this point, I don't know what really. I guess this guy did a good job trying to limit the collateral damage. I'm surprised that we've seen no manifesto drop from him. That is odd to me. That seems to me the biggest red flag here is that this guy, he appears to have died in the RV, because I've seen no video of him getting out of the RV, because you have the RV pulling up and parking in front of the at&t building. And then, you have that loudspeaker going for a few minutes, which I believe was a recording of a woman saying, hey, evacuate immediately. And then it blows up, but we see no video so far of the guy getting out of the RV and walking away. So I'm going to assume they killed him. Who knows if the guy that they're accusing of this is even the guy who did it. I mean, they could have had somebody else drive that RV and kill and off this guy and just framed him. Who knows? We'll never know. The FBI certainly won't tell us. And so, if anything, this might just become the next Vegas shooting, in that it just gets swept under the rug, and that there was, which to me seems like there's something that they don't want us to know, because as to quote Rahm Emanuel, you never let a good crisis go to waste. If anything bad ever happens, the government wants to swoop in and act like heroes. But if something bad happens and the government's like, oh, let's not pay attention to that, that means they probably had a hand in it in some way, and they don't want people to find out. I mean, who knows? This guy could have been an entrapment situation gone wrong, because the FBI runs these ops, just like they did in Michigan with these guys who, supposedly were going to kidnap the governor of Michigan. These are just guys on the internet who get whipped up into a frenzy by federal agents, encouraging them to commit, violent acts. And then when they, think about doing it, then the FBI swoops in and says, ha, we caught you. That's an entrapment operation. Well, perhaps there's a possibility that they were trying to entrap this guy. And again, I'm just speculating at this point. This is one possibility why they would try and cover it up and not make a big deal about it. They were pushing this guy, radicalizing him online. He was talking to federal agents on 4chan or something. And they thought that they could, lead him down the line and catch him at some point. But instead, he very quickly, took initiative, accepted their brainwashing, and then went and committed the act on his own without talking to the feds, so they didn't know ahead of time. Again, I'm not saying that's true. I have no evidence of that. I'm just saying that that's one scenario in which the FBI would want to cover something up. Like the Vegas shooting, They covered that up for some reason, never talked about it. I mean, you would think they'd at least try and get some gun control out of it. I mean, there was some whimpering from Democrats, but other than that, I mean, it was that story was dropped like a hot potato pretty quick. So I think that's about all I have to say in this story. I doubt we'll get much more information. I'll try and keep an eye out. Maybe something will come up, but at this point, I don't feel like this is going to be played up very much, and so they're going to conceal as much as they can. So with that said, if you gained anything of value out of this video, I'd appreciate you clicking that like button and sharing this video. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe, because I do upload every day and I'd hate to have you miss one. So I'll see you folks back here tomorrow.